Good afternoon, class. I'm glad that I have an opportunity to talk to you today. It's a great afternoon in Houston. It's the last day of rodeo, and for you, it's the beginning of week 4. We're at the halfway point for your class. I'm beginning to see some great material emerging. For many of you, this is the culmination of the time that you have spent learning. It's the culmination of the semester or the term that you will earn your 4-year degree in communications and public relations and in some various other fields. As such, I would like to review some of the information and presentation that you've turned in so far. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about the next few chapters that you'll be studying, and then just go from there. I'd like to make some observations as I look back through your work for the past few weeks. I have noticed a couple of things. And one thing that's kind of stuck in my mind is that, especially with this organizational communications class, as we learn how organizations communicate, how we communicate within and without organizations, how branding is important to organizations, and just kind of an overall sense of what organizations are and what they do, who they employ, how employees are affected by communications within an organization, how consumers are affected outside of an organization. It's occurred to me that everything that you do, that we do together, as far as how we communicate, is also very important. And so that's why I wanted to go over some of the delivery models that you use in order to communicate your ideas and your information to the class and to me. And so I thought I'd take a few minutes to just talk about your PowerPoints, your voice threads, your prezes, and your papers, your writing. One of the things that I thought as I look through the communication that you turn in and the get an idea of who you are and the wonderful ideas that you're presenting, oftentimes I think presentation is king. Presentation is king. I'm not sure where I got that idea from. I'm sure that it wasn't an idea that is original to me. And there goes my Twitter. Somebody's burning up the airwaves this afternoon. Anyway, presentation is king. Not altogether an original idea, but an important one nonetheless, especially for public relations students or anybody in an organizational structure that's going to look towards how information is presented. Matter of fact, let me take this one time to remind you that in a 400 level course, you can well expect that projects that you produce at this level could be fair game and should be part of what you consider your overall repertoire, your portfolio, that you could be expected to turn in for a prospective employer, for information to be used for an advancement, for any kind of evidence that you can be a good grant writer, or any of the above. Most people at this level have produced quite a body of work, but this 400 level work is considered to be top-notch. It is not typically just let me see how much or how little I can do to get by and get through these last few classes. This is your chance to shine. This is when you put your best foot forward. So with that said, let's talk about these PowerPoints and these voice threads and these YouTube videos and these papers that you're turning in. One thing that I'd like to remind you is that a PowerPoint, like anything else, has several aspects to it. And you should carefully consider the template that you're using. Is it appropriate to your audience? Are the colors appropriate to the subject and your audience, the subject that you're trying to communicate? What do the colors say? If you say, well, I have no clue what you're talking about. I've not taken a class in graphic design or anything of the sort. Google. We all are very familiar with Google. Google, what are colors and what are colors specific to certain themes? For instance, I've been working on my daughter's wedding almost nonstop for 7 to 8 months at least. She's announced it a year in advance and we'll be getting married April 25th. So I'm very familiar with wedding colors, soft themes, and the latest trends in wedding themes. And so what we might use to devise a template or do a theme for a wedding would be maybe vastly similar than that which we would put together for something that would communicate the aspects of broadcast or reporters in a large market versus a small market, or companies, how we would compare different companies like Zappos and different corporations and how they communicate with each other. So you see what I'm saying? The template does make a difference. Template as in the structure of the lines. Is it scrolls and flowers? Something that would be maybe more apropos to a women's luncheon, and soft colors versus bold colors that stand out in a world of broadcast, reds and blues and so forth. So those things are good things to research and look up when you're putting together a presentation. Okay, so you're also going to consider fonts and layouts. How is the information best presented? For instance, when I put together a slideshow for my brother's memorial service a few weeks ago, I carefully considered how many pictures I would have and how I best wanted to present them and how many songs. Of course, I considered what songs and so forth. And it was a great emotional time for me, but it was also a time when I thought through about what would best present the information and the types of things that I was trying to, that would best reflect and be emotive of the types of information that I was presenting. So these are the things you all think of when you put together a PowerPoint. Also, let me remind you, sometimes too much information or not enough information go hand in hand when it comes to a PowerPoint. A PowerPoint is not simply a medium that is exactly the same as, say, a paper. So you don't necessarily write a paper and then put a paragraph on each slide and then say, well, I've done my PowerPoint. PowerPoint is a very different medium than that. A VoiceThread absolutely is not the same. A VoiceThread gives you a great opportunity to speak, such as I'm speaking right now, but to also give people a visual, words, people that are very visually oriented, and they need words and they need graphics to carry them through. Same thing with the PowerPoint, you also need graphics. Show, don't tell. Show not only in words, not only in pictures, not word pictures, and not only in illustrations like telling stories, but in a PowerPoint, in a VoiceThread, you have an opportunity to use graphics and to show people what it is that you're talking about, and then talk about things, tell little stories with that VoiceThread. Let me give you the example of a ballet. In a great ballet, you have dancers on stage doing one thing, and then you have a completely different group of people, the orchestra, who are playing the music. Those are two totally different, separate things, but they are communicating one very awesome ballet. When you go and you hear the Nutcracker Suite, you are hearing the most awesome music, but when you see the ballet and it is combined, it is absolutely just wonderful. And I hope you've gone to a ballet at least and enjoyed that, because it's just an awesome merging of the two. Well, that's how a VoiceThread can be. You're telling the story, you're telling some stories and explaining some things, and at the same time you're showing some things on the screen that help create the whole picture. They help create the fullness of the picture. Same thing with the PowerPoint. You don't have the voice, but you're still maybe not putting all of the information out there, and you're definitely not doing it in a way that you would write a paper. So it's a different medium. YouTube video. You have an opportunity to do what I'm doing right now. Let me caution you on a YouTube video, however, to take a little time to prepare. Before I did this video, and I know you're saying, oh my gosh, TMI, TMI, TMI. Before I took the time to do this video, I went to, I stood in front of my mirror. I smoothed back my hair, tried to see maybe there weren't any really bad things going on here with my hair. Although I do know I need to get a little touch up on Tuesday. Get rid of that gray. Grabbed my tube of lipstick that I keep handy right here on my desk. Okay, freshened up a bit. Made sure I had one of my scarves on so that you can't see how absolutely casual I am. You know, it's a Sunday afternoon, evening after church, so I dressed down a little bit. Have kind of a dark jacket on, so you can't tell it's like a really slack, loosey thing. But anyway, try to get rid of most of the distractions in the background. I have a better choice for lighting, but the bulb is burned out, so I have to replace it at some point. Tried to make sure the counter behind me, where is it? Other hand, I'm always doing that backwards, wasn't too absolutely full of things. There was a whole bunch of scarves over here. This was like Wedding Grand Central this past week. Well, I kind of removed the scarves, straightened up the area, made sure there wasn't anything too awfully distracting. It's really important when you're doing a YouTube video or any type of video that you keep the distractions to a minimum. You try to be in a comfortable position. Look at where your head is. Look at where your face is focused. And probably most important of all, and this is one that escapes most people, if you're doing it on your iPhone, that's great. Doing it on your laptop, that's wonderful. Make sure that the camera is not below your nose. Make sure that you're not up here looking, no. You would be down here looking up here somewhere, okay? I mean, make sure that you take your laptop and you actually put it on a couple of books or something so that it is slightly above you at eye level. See, now I'm like all messed up here. I have to get better. Okay. See, I'm kind of adjusting myself. Okay, where's that nice angle? Okay. Make sure that your camera's at a good angle. That's free of distractions and free of the looking up into your nostrils angle. And so that a person can make contact with your eyes and see what it is that you're saying. Keep the hand motions to a minimum unless, I mean, I love hand motions if you're further out and they're not actually the thing that the person is seeing on the screen all the time, because this can get very distracting if this is what they're seeing all the time on the screen. And this is what happens if you put your laptop in front of you on the coffee table and you're very much a talker with your hands, which I am. But try to keep that to a minimum. Keep the I'm scratching my face to a minimum. I'm itching my stomach or my neck to a minimum. You know, keep that stuff to a minimum. And learn to just talk to the camera as if you're talking to classmates, or you're talking to a lecture hall full of people, or you're talking to a good friend who you're sharing information with. And you'll find that the session will go a lot more easy. Okay, so there's some tips on how to take that good information that you have discovered and prepare it in such a way that it is king. That presentation is king. Now, I'm going to tell you the story of the Oreo. I've been telling the story for a long time, but the idea is here that a lot of you have a lot of great ideas. You have some great information, okay? Some of you have, some of you are not the best writers. That's okay. You have some really, really good ideas. And actually, YouTube, a PowerPoint, maybe a better medium for you to get your ideas out. And that's wonderful. You may be a better artist than you are better speaker, and more comfortable with that than getting up in front of people or even doing a YouTube. Well, then let that shine through when you do those projects. Let them be very strong and forceful. Here's why. Here's the Oreo. The story of the Oreo. The Oreo cookie has a wonderful, smooth center. We all love Oreos. It has two great chocolate wafers. And when it's put together, dipped in some milk, few can argue with the allure of an Oreo cookie. Now you take that Oreo, you drop it into a paper bag, and you shove it to the back of a grocery store shelf. And nobody's going to see that Oreo. Nobody's going to even know it's there. They're going to pass it right by, no matter how good that Oreo is. These are your ideas, folks. Sometimes your ideas are so good, but they are so shrouded in errors, or the incorrect way that you have done something, or the fact that you've just not taken the time to put something together carefully, that we can't really get at what it is that is good, like that Oreo. So some brilliant person at some point came along with the cellophane packaging for the Oreo cookies. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It was revolutionary. Cellophane packaging over a package of Oreos, which, you know, they like to place on end caps just for people like me. Double stuffed Oreos even. Seasonal Oreos even. And how many of us can pass them by? I'm so weak. That is what your good thoughts, your brilliant thinking, your critical thinking ought to be in any PowerPoint, any Prezi, any voice thread, any writing. Don't do a Q&A to fill the paper. Q&A means when you repeat the question, do the answer, repeat the question, do the answer. When you're asked to synthesize and develop a body of writing answering these 5 questions, you weren't asked to answer these 5 questions in a Q&A, a question and answer, question and answer. You were asked to synthesize and develop an answer, especially when it says in APA style. That means you develop an introduction, a body of writing that incorporates answers from all 5 questions. And if you're not familiar at this point, refresh yourself. Take a little refresher in APA style. Go back through, Google it, ask, email me, ask me. These projects are important. These case studies are important that you're going to turn in. So don't diminish the value of them. Use critical thinking. Move ahead. Don't let these be just assignments, but let them be something that you really think about and you really work on. Okay, now our assignments are things that we're studying this week. Very exciting. I know to this point, some of the work has been very exciting. The research that we did that was related to Zappos Corporation and all the different styles of corporation, the different perspectives of communication, organizational communication, that was very exciting. In some of that, we've hit on this idea of emotional labor. That was particularly interesting, and we're going to actually hit on that again in this next chapter. Chapter 7, we're going to hit on emotional labor again. And I was so excited this last week. I was thinking about that when I was editing a story by actually wasn't editing a story by one of our writers. I was actually not editing, but actually posting a video by Todd Starnes at Fox News. He's a good friend. Actually, I just got off the phone with him. Was getting ready to do this video, and he called and was like, "Hey, I'm in Atlanta at the airport. Let's chat." You know, so I did. And I said, "Oh my gosh, that story on Starbucks was just wonderful." And, you know, I used it for my broadcasting class, and I'm going to use it for my organizational communications class. And it's really good. So I'm messing with my iPad because I'm going to actually show you. This is a wonderful example of a great, we really don't even know what to call his American Dispatches. They're podcasts, broadcasts, slash kind of opinion pieces, but they're very good. And Todd is a very good journalist. Started out as a radioman, went to cover the news for Baptist Press, then went to work for, I think, a secular newspaper, and then went to work for Fox News. So he's been all around in the news. But he stumbled on this story about Starbucks and their involvement in asking their employees to start discussions on race relations in the United States based on what's been going on at Ferguson and elsewhere. And so here's what he came up with. Let me show you this short, it's very short, video. And this is how it's presented on our website, on our page, Christian Examiner. And here's the video itself. It's very short. Go ahead and watch it.
Hi, I'm Todd Starnes. Starbucks and hot water. That is the subject of today's dispatch. Starbucks' national conversation on race has frothed the nation's lattes. The coffee chain ordered its Hi, I'm Todd Starnes. Starbucks and hot water. That is the subject of today's dispatch. Starbucks' national conversation on race has frothed the nation's lattes. The coffee chain ordered its baristas to wade into discussions about racism while customers wait for their caramel macchiatos. Here's how it's supposed to work. The barista hands you a cup, and if the cup has the words race together on it, then brace yourself for a hands up, don't shoot commentary on the state of racial affairs in America. As if I need to explain to a 16-year-old why I take my coffee black. Starbucks says they just want to bring us all together. And based on the reaction from Twitter, mission accomplished. Cameron Gray tweets, this Starbucks mug of hot steaming guilt is delicious. Sheriff David Clark Jr. from Milwaukee says this, can't remember the last time I saw a black person inside a Starbucks. They do not have stores in black neighborhoods. And my good friend Michelle Malkin tweets this, adding white sugar to my non-Starbucks coffee with my brown hand. Diversity. Hashtag race together. Hashtag shut up and sell coffee. Starbucks is standing firm. They say they could not be silent bystanders, but silence is golden, especially before we've had our first cup of coffee for the day. You know, it's bad enough they charge me $4 for a cup of joe. It's bad enough they can't spell my name correctly. It's 2 D's. But now I'm going to get a lecture on white privilege because I ordered the blonde roast instead of the dark. Thanks, but no thanks. You can sound off on today's dispatch on Facebook and Twitter, and you can catch up on all my dispatches at foxnews.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Todd Starnes.
Well, there you have it. An example, in my estimation, which I just expressed to Todd, could be an example, what do you think, of emotional labor? It was probably my immediate thought when I was reading through this week's chapter, because I knew that the latte situation had been frothing for a while. So with that, happy reading, happy research, and I'm looking forward to seeing your case studies and your projects in the future. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me. There is a little bit of a time delay. It's a little bit later for me here in Houston. And so if I don't immediately respond to your midnight emails, I will try first thing in the morning to respond, or at least sometime during that next day. And with that, I hope you have a great week. Let me know if I can help you in any way. Thank you. Bye-bye.